Stoichiometry is not on the next test. It'll be on the next test. So that will, after the chemical reaction test, which is next, all that math stuff will be on the next test. And I'll tell you all that when we get there. So we're going to talk about chemical reactions. A lot of what we're going to do here in the next little bit should be reviewed. Even if you didn't have this in middle school, you have probably seen some of what we're going to talk about in biology or earth science class. Your other science teachers here at the high school probably talked about this, okay? For example, what are the two parts to this chemical reaction? All right, so anytime we talk about the reactants, I'm expecting you to know that that is the left side of the arrow. And after today, I will always refer to it that way. When I say the reactants, I'm expecting you to know that it's on the left side of the arrow. And that is the only way I refer to them as the reactants. I'm never going to say the left side of the arrow. So when I say reactants, I'm expecting you to recognize that that's the arrow, or what's the name of the arrow?
Yield.
The yield sign, okay? It's referred to as the yield sign. You can think of it as an equal. It's not technically an equal sign, but if you want to think of it that way, that's fine.
What are the little things in?
We're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Is it an S and a G?
It is. It's an S and a G. We're going to talk about what those stand for next. All right? But you can think of the yield as an equal. It's not technically an equal, but you can think of it that way. All right? But when I say the reactants, I need you to know it's on the left. What's on the right of the arrow? All right. Anything that's over here on the right is the products. Because if I'm referring to the products and you don't know what side the products are on, it's easy to get lost in our conversation. Because today, the entire equation is going to be written for you in symbols, and we're just going to learn to balance. Tomorrow, it's going to be in words. You're going to have to take the words and change it to symbols and then balance. Starting, what's that, Thursday? Friday, we're doing a lab. Starting on Monday, I'm going to start taking things away, such as I'm going to write things like Fe plus H2SO4 with an arrow, and you're going to have to figure out what goes over here, and then you're going to have to balance, okay? You're going to have to predict the products. Or I'm going to give you something like, let's just say FeCl3 and that, or C3H8 plus O2 and that. Now, those are three different types of reactions. You're going to have to be able to figure out A, what type of reaction it is, and then predict the products and then balance. So we're going to move towards more complex as we go through this particular unit. Okay? So when I refer to the reactants or the products, you need to know what I'm talking about. Everybody good with that? All right. So what are these other things that I have put in the equation? Those are symbols. We're going to talk about the symbols today. I'm never going to talk about symbols again. I'm just going to expect you to know what they are. So a lot of people get those wrong on the test, and they are the most missed 6 points on the test because I don't spend any time reviewing them before the test, and nobody ever studies them. Try not to do that in here. Okay? Everybody have what they need. So, what are some symbols y'all need to know? The first ones are the states. S, L, G, AQ, and CR. S stands for what? L stands for
liquid.
G,
Gas.
AQ,
Aquatic with matter.
aqueous. If you said aquatic on the test, I'd mark it wrong as -2. Aqueous means dissolved in water. Unless you are actually drinking water, every material that y'all drink is aqueous. Okay? Juice, soda, Kool-Aid, Gatorade, Powerade, tea, coffee, everything has something dissolved in water. They're all aqueous.
The second one ain't all that.
It's an L. Huh? CR stands for crystalline.
Crystalline. Just about to say that.
Okay, it stands for a crystalline solid. So it's a sugar, salt, something that would be an actual crystal. It's not going to be an amorphous solid. We'll talk about the differences between crystalline and amorphous probably about week 13. But some examples that you might remember are salt or sugar. All right, some arrows that you might see. Now, we've already talked about the yield sign. The two arrows means the reaction is reversible. You will see this later in the semester when we talk about equilibrium. We will use that quite a bit. An up arrow means a gas is released. So you might see that like behind CO2 with an up arrow. A down arrow means a precipitate.
Oh, like it's like raining.
Is no.
Oh, this yellow thing that we did, right?
Thank you, Danielle.
Oh man, yeah. You can
So,
remember like that.
for example, the yellow thing you made was PBI2. So it would have a down arrow beside it to represent that it was a precipitate. But that yellow stuff y'all made was PBI2, lead to iodide. Okay?
They were just writing something.
Now, the other symbols that you would most likely see in my course would be things that are written on the arrows. Okay? So, things like, I haven't used that color. Example, an arrow, a yield sign that had a triangle written on it. That means that heat is added. Most people want to tell me it stands for delta or change on the test because you all know that the triangle is change in math class and in other formulas. But when we put it on top of a yield sign, it doesn't mean that anymore. It means heat is added. Now, if we put something like a formula on top of it, like MnO2, and you don't have to know what the formula is or anything. You just need to know if there's a formula written on top of it. That means a catalyst is added. So somebody tell me what a catalyst is from biology class.
Enzyme.
That's an example of a catalyst. What's an enzyme do?
It speeds up chemical reaction.
There you go. It speeds up a chemical reaction. That is the sole function of a catalyst. All right. And the last one I think I remember that you need to know, and I'll consult my notes to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Like 2 ATM means that you need a minimum pressure. ATM is a pressure, so you need a minimum pressure. Let's see if I got all the symbols. Yep, nothing I left out on the symbols that you need that I would put on the test. Now, standard atmospheric pressure is 1 in the room, so 2 ATM would double the pressure. Okay. Now, any of those would be fair game for the test.
Oh,
And I'm pretty sure I have 3 on the test.
So does the ATM just mean you're gonna use the pressure?
It means what?
Does the ATM just mean
It would mean you're going to need a pressure that's different from atmospheric standard pressure. If it was standard pressure, it would be 1. So if they put any kind of pressure that's not 1 ATM on top of the arrow, it means you need something different than what is normal atmospheric pressure in the room. Because normal atmospheric pressure in the room is 1. So if they put 1.5 or 2 or 3, you're going to have to add pressure to the reaction to make it work. Anybody else? Question? No? All right. In order to balance equations, there is only one rule we have to follow. Exactly. There is only one rule that we have to follow, and it's called the law of conservation of
Matter.
It can be. We're just going to use mass. The law of conservation can say the law of conservation of energy, the law of conservation of mass, law of conservation of matter, law of conservation of momentum, the law of conservation. What other ones do I teach in physical science?
Physics. Nope.
No.
The law of conservation of gravity.
No.
Pressure.
No.
Density.
No. I'm having a senior moment. I know there's more that I teach. Beyond momentum.
Wow, I completely missed law.
Yeah.
Could
I've done energy, momentum.
Um,
We'll do mass. I think there's a fourth one. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just old. All right, so what does it say? So just tell me the name of the law.
all
You have to have the same number of molecules on each side.
Yes, that's what it's going to translate into. So what's the law say?
Can't be
both
created or
sides. Both.
destroyed.
Give me one more piece.
Mass cannot be created or destroyed.
I like the first part. I need one more little tiny little bit.
Oh,
You don't like my English definition, so I don't.
There's nothing wrong with it. Mass cannot be created or destroyed
Mass and balance.
in ordinary chemical reactions. Cannot be created or destroyed in ordinary chemical reactions. Now, what that means for balanced equations is what Emma said. The number of atoms on the left have to equal the number of atoms on the what? On the right, which is what we're getting ready to do with the balancing. So, those of you who had a good experience in middle school, particularly 8th grade, probably did some of this. Those of you who had a crappy experience didn't. Okay? Now, those of you who are very math-minded, multiply and divide and add and see numbers pretty well, this is going to come pretty easily to you. Those of you who don't, some people struggle with this. Okay? I will tell you, if you struggle with this, come get help ASAP. Not in a week, soon.
Today.
Well, today I have a meeting, but soon. Tomorrow I've got a few minutes after school before I have a 4 o'clock meeting. But help soon. Even if it's not me, get a friend to help you. All right, everybody got it? Now, this is not a topic I usually give a lot of notes for. It's all trial and error. Okay, we can put notes down about how to balance. There's really no point. So I'm not going to write down notes. We're just going to do some examples. Okay? So, let's say we have the one that we started with. I'm going to leave out all symbols because they just clutter up the reaction. Now, there's really only 2 kinds of numbers you have to concern yourself with. First of all, the only place you can put numbers are in front of the compounds. These numbers are called coefficients. They are the only numbers that you change. Okay? Those are the ones you change. These are called subscripts. Okay? You cannot change those. At times, it would be much easier to be able to erase one of those numbers and change it to something else. But we can't change those. The only numbers we can change are the coefficients. Now, today, and for the first little bit, I'm going to draw lines at the front of the compounds only for instructional purposes, just so you figure out where you can put numbers. Because sometimes students want to stick numbers in right here. You see where I'm pointing? Can I stick a number in the middle of the compound? No. I can only put a number in front of the compound, in front of the compound, and in front of the compound. I can put any whole number I want to put in front of any of those compounds. Now, those numbers do need to be in lowest terms. And sometimes you'll hear me tell one of your classmates the number needs to be reduced. Most of you are automatically going to have chosen numbers that are in lowest terms. But every now and then, somebody will have numbers that need to be reduced. So if you have a number, let's just say, don't write this down. Let's just say that you balanced it and you had a number of 4, 8, and 12. What can you tell me about all three of those coefficients? They're all divisible by 4. If they're all divisible by the same number, what do you need to do to all of those coefficients? You need to divide them by 4. So you would need to change this to a 1, this to a 2, and this to a 3. Okay? Most of you will never have to do that, but some of you will have a talent for picking coefficients that need to be reduced. Yes, you will. So, usually it happens in every class. There's somebody who always manages to get coefficients that are too big. That is the only thing I will give partial credit for if it's balanced right, but needs to be reduced. And yes, I will take off for needing to reduce. Okay? But otherwise, if any of the coefficients are wrong, then it's wrong. Okay? It's just not balanced right. There's no partial credit for anything else. Okay? So, if we want to balance one element at a time. Pick one. Now, everybody always says, Ms. Wall, how do you pick? I've done this a really long time, so I know what to pick. Okay? The things I look for are the largest subscripts, and I typically pick the odd numbers. Okay? You don't have to do that. You can pick any element you want. If you want to pick iron, start with iron. If you want to pick oxygen, start with oxygen. But pick one element at a time, balance it first, and then balance the next element. Don't try to do 2 elements at a time. Some of you can't because you're very bright and you can manage that in your head. The vast majority of you are not that sharp. And I'm not insulting your intelligence by saying that. You just can't do it. Okay? So, one at a time and then do the next one. So which element would we like to balance first? We can do oxygen. All right, so how many oxygens are here?
2.
How many oxygens are here?
3.
So can we put any number here that will, first of all, this number that we put will multiply by 2 to give us whatever. Is there a number that I can put here that will multiply by 2 to give me 3? Is there any number I can put here that will multiply by 3 to give me 2? No. So think numbers they have in common to get the same number. What number does 2 and 3 have in common? 6. So how can I get 6 O's right here? 3 times 2 will give me 6 oxygens. So I need 6 oxygens on this side. So what number will I put here to get 6 O's? Now, this works just like math class. When I put that 2 out front, that 2 does what? It distributes. So this 2 goes here, and this 2 goes there. So not only did I make 6 O's, I made how many irons? 4. So that made 4 Fe's, and it made 6 oxygens. So if I made 4 Fe's, what do I need to put over here? I need to put a 4 there to make 4 Fe's. Because 4 times 1 is 4. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
We right there.
I don't care what you write down. They're your notes.
I love balance.
Same.
It's not that hard. So I said if you can multiply and add, it's not that difficult.
Well, I can't do that, but.
That's why I said most people don't need a calculator. Some people want a calculator.
They be like 5 things long. I'm like, oh my gosh, and then everything just falls down together. You gotta do it.
What's wrong, Catherine?
So you never do that, you only distribute the ones that
What
are
are you?
in the product?
You distribute the ones that have 2 elements and you put a coefficient in front of it. See, this has nothing to distribute because it's only FE. I'm going to do another one where it distributes.
Oh, my fault.
All right, does everybody have what they want? Okay, so let's say that we have SB CL5 plus BR2. Hold on, let me make a little more space there.
Find what? Antimony.
All right, let's say that we're balancing this one.
Ooh.
Another easy one.
What?
Is it really though?
Yeah.
This really is.
I need to Alright.
If y'all think this one is hard, we're in deep doo-doo.
Hold on.
It's gotta think.
Hey,
Are
Miss
you collecting
Wall.
openings tomorrow?
If we're on 10 tomorrow, yes, I am.
Miss Wall.
All right, so pick an element we want to balance first. Yes, sir.
BR.
Oh man, we skipped it. It's off topic.
Okay, so BR. So how many BRs are here?
5,
And how many are here?
2.
2.
So, again, can I get 5 here?
No.
Can I get 2 here?
No.
So what number do 2 and 5 have in common that we can get to? 10, all right? So how would I get 10 here?
5.
And how would I get 10 here?
2.
Now, Catherine, this is one that I don't need to distribute because there's only one BR, right? But this one is a whole compound. So this 2 is going to go to SB, and this 2 is going to go to BR because we put it in front of the compound, so it's going to distribute to the whole thing. It's not going to the CL because there's a what right here. So it doesn't go to the CL, okay? So I made 2 SBs, and I made 10 BRs. All right, so I took care of the BRs. Made 2 SBs. So I need to fix my SBs. How many SBs are over here? So how do I get 2 SBs?
2.
All right, this is a compound again, so that 2 went there and there. So I made 2 SBs, but I made 10 chlorines. So how many chlorines do I have over there?
2.
I need 10, so what am I putting?
5.
Oh, okay.
So,
Haha.
like, so what's the answer? Like,
That's
like, I'm just not really like,
Not really. It wasn't even-
I got it. That's our answer.
Yeah. But it has to be in simplest terms.
Can you reduce a 2, a 5, a 2, and a 5?
No.
No, that's lowest terms.
I got it.
Okay, most people are not going to have something that's larger than that.
We're still like 45.
You're probably going to wind up needing lowest terms. All right. What?
Telling you, next class they play like some jazz.
Put some what?
Some
Yeah,
jazz.
different.
Like really slow jazz, you know?
Why? You need me to fall asleep?
Sure. Then I can teach the class. For real, bro. I put 50 inside. Hey, Bojangles and grip. It's not nasty. It's just
I'm gonna do it today.
probably the one near the McDonald's. Oh Lord, but I heard that had roast
That
everywhere.
is so funny.
Yeah. There's actually some off.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah.
That's where.
Across the country, you mean?
I might just do this.
All right. This time I picked one that has some polyatomic ions in it.
Yeah. I always wondered what that word.
Now, the first thing that I would do, other than that,
Distribute.
no.
You polyatomic.
Lots of people don't balance it the way I balance it.
Why?
Because they're stupid in my opinion. But it's not a conversation. Is I balance polyatomic ions as whole units. So I draw in parentheses to match my polyatomic ions. So I have ClO3 over here is a polyatomic ion, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to draw in parentheses to match my polyatomic ion. See how that 3 is inside?
Mm-hmm.
My 3 has to be inside. My SO4, the 4 is inside, right?
Right.
So the 4 has to be inside my parentheses. Everybody see that? Now, if the 4 is inside, that means I have how many SO4s over here?
1.
There's 1 SO4. If that 3 is inside, there's how many ClO3s?
1.
There's 1 ClO3. Purposes of balancing, that means I'm going to balance them as a whole unit. So how many chlorates do I have here?
3.
There are 3 chlorates. How many chlorates on this side do I have?
1.
1. It's a whole lot easier to balance them as entire units than it is to add up how many Cl's and how many O's I have, because I have O's here too, plex. So I have 3 chlorates, 1 chlorate. So if I have 3 here, what do I need to do here?
Multiply by 3.
Okay, we'll start by putting a 3 there. So if I have 3 sodiums there, what am I going to do here?
Multiply by 6.
I have how many sodiums there?
3.
I have 2.
Oh.
Can I get 3?
No.
So maybe starting with chlorate wasn't my best place to start. So I'm going to erase that and say, nope, that probably wasn't the best place to start. So instead of starting with chlorate, maybe I should start with what?
The first, the sodium.
All right, I'll start with, you want to start with sodium?
Yeah.
Sure, we can start with sodium. And I purposely picked something that time that wasn't going to work out right for us so you could see what happens if you pick wrong. All right, so sodium. How many sodiums?
2.
How many sodiums are there?
No, 1.
So you're going to put a what?
2.
Okay, put a 2 there. So how many chlorates did you make?
2.
How many chlorates are
3.
here?
3.
So can you get 2?
Wait.
Okay, so erase.
You can do 6.
All right.
Hold on. Try. How many sulfates are here? Again, this is a polyatomic ion, so there's how many?
1.
And how many sulfates are here?
3.
So there's 3 and there's 1. So what are we going to need to put here?
Multiply by 3.
Okay, so that, and then we need to multiply anything there?
No.
Okay, so we multiplied by 3, so we got 3 sulfates, 1 sulfate. So how many sodiums do we make?
6.
Made 6. So if we got 6 there, what do we have to put over here?
6.
How many chlorates do we make?
6.
So how do we get 6 chlorates?
2.
So if we put a 2 there, how many aluminums do we make?
2.
How many aluminums are here?
2.
So do I need to put anything there?
No.
Now you can leave it blank, or some people like to put a 1 there. It doesn't matter to me which way you do it. I will leave it blank, but some people like to write a 1. Now, questions. I purposefully chose something that I knew wouldn't work there, and it worked out really well that you picked the other one that wouldn't work out, so that you could see what happens when you pick poorly, and you just have to keep working your way through till you find something that will work. Okay? And sometimes you'll do all 4 of them, and it won't work, and you'll have to go to a higher number. Make sense? Okay. Now, last one, and then I'm going to let y'all try.
It's like magic.
It's like
not magic.
science, dude.
Yeah.
I hate math. Is it fine if we keep drawing the line beside of them?
Yep.
Okay. Because that way I have like somewhere to put my numbers.
It's fine. All right, so let's say we have this one. All right. This one causes issues for lots of people because oxygen is in 3 of your 4 compounds.
I do.
What do you think we should start with?
The H2O. Well, I
You can do hydrogen first. That'll be fine.
well, you start with oxygen.
Who should you not do first?
I'm not doing this.
Oxygen. You see how oxygen is here by himself? Do him last. Because whatever you need to finish it out, since it's by itself, you can put what you need there at the end to fix it. So do that last. Okay? So how many H's do you have? So how do you get 4 over here?
2.
Okay? What do we need to do then?
Nothing.
All right, how many carbons are here?
1.
How many carbons are here?
1.
So we're good to go there. How many H? We did H, so now we got to do our O's. Now, here's the part that causes issues for people. You have to add up your O's. There's how many O's here
2.
plus, who's plus sign right there?
2.
How many O's here? There's 1 here, but what do you have right here?
2.
So 2 times 1 is?
5.
Okay, so you've got 2 plus 2. So how many total on this side?
4.
We've got a total of 4 oxygens on that side. Okay, because remember, it's the total on the side. And there's 2 oxygens in CO2, and there's 2 oxygens in water. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So how do you get 4 now here?
2.
And then it's balanced. You can either leave it like that, or you can come back and put 1s here if it makes you happy.
So we put 2 on that side because 4 equals because 4
Exactly. Think you can try some?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You know, this isn't as bad as I remember.
right, dude.
Like, I
It's
remember
definitely-
hating music of passion. Like, I could not do
I
it.
did not. I was the one
They
good.
gave us like
I was so
worksheets after worksheet.
Yeah.
Like,
This was really good. She just no, but then we got Jacob who was going for me.
Yeah, and
Huh?
Jacob was
Jacob.
alone.
Yeah.
We just copied his name.
And then half of them would be like wrong.
yeah, you should have half of it. Oh, it's like what?
He's like, no. this is
Well, let's try
but-
Halfway, right? Get out of here.
All right, we're doing 1 through 9. Huh? Yeah. 1 through 9. 10 through 13, we don't know how to do word equations. And I have not talked about the 7 diatomics. So we're only doing 1 through 9.
So set it down. Oh, shoot, my fault.
He only kept yours because he don't know how to do simple math.
Wait,
While y'all working along.
oh, shoot. All right, you can just like, move very hard in here.
Doesn't matter.
Yes,
Also, I
it
think that
No.
does.
I don't think it matters.
The what?
I
About
think
grades.
it's easy.
but it does sound like it does.
The number
Elon
does
thing
not
is funny.
represent your intelligence. Tyshawn.
It actually does. in
Because
certain
I know
places.
that I heard on the start, sign up till tomorrow.
Yeah, they won't be paying.
I don't know, but if you are going to be out, then you'll have to make it up after school eventually.
Oh, I can come after.
For the lab.
Monday.
Monday, I was happy. Tuesday is early dismissal day, so. I think it is Tuesday. I could be wrong about the.
I'm not with
I'm
the
thinking it's.
Is it the 3rd?
Then I can say.
Yeah, it's last week.
Right.
I know Elon is Friday.
You want to what?
I've got an email about Elon on Friday.
Oh, that's
We
what it
going on
was.
the Elon
As far
trip.
as I know, it's.
Shoot.
See, I don't think East Carolina's Friday.
That's not.
I know Elon is
You
Friday.
know, is the Elon trip only for juniors and seniors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I'm thinking.
No, there's
I said
no more going on the Elon trip.
No, no, it's for project potential.
Yeah, it's for Project Potential.
Not
Maybe. There's Powers and the Florida election folks going to Elon.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know when the ECU one is clean. Who's taking that one?
Oh,
Who's
really?
taking the ECU trip?
Dang.
Just makers.
They need to
I
start
got
announcing
an
stuff
email
like
about
that.
that one.
I wanted
They
to
don't
know
tell nobody else.
because I think
They
there's
said
still
it
spots.
once.
Right, because there's still spots to sign up, I think, because we mentioned it yesterday.
Then it's not this Friday. If there are still spots to sign up, it's not Friday.
Because it's like
Sorry, maybe
26, I think. It was
It's when?
Yeah, no, there's 26 spots, like, for us to sign up.
Okay, then it's not this Friday. Elon is this Friday. But I'm sure they're not taking you Friday. If there are still spots for people to sign up, I wouldn't think that it would still be available to sign up and go this Friday.
Okay.
Typically, they cut that off because they've got to get approval for grades and all of that stuff being approved, that you're in good standing for Ms. Curry to be able to go on the field trip.
Because they said you signed up by Thursday.
You don't think it'll be Friday then. I would think it might be next week, so that it gets all approved and everything for you to go on the trip. But regardless, if you miss something, you can just make it up after school. Now, I hate to interrupt y'all while y'all are working, but, we are gonna be a little bit behind, with fourth period. The papers I just handed you. This is the lab we're doing on Friday. And I know some of you have slightly busier schedules in the evening than others, so I wanted to give you what you're gonna have to come to the lab prepared on Friday. Because if you don't have your homework on Friday, you don't get to participate, okay? And there are two things you have to have, and I'll go through this again tomorrow, but in case you're one of those people who knows you will not have time tomorrow night and you need to get it done tonight. You have to have your procedure and your data table either typed or written out before you can participate in class on Friday. And it can be copied word for word. So on your procedure that I handed you, I gave you the steps you're gonna need to write your formal lab report, which I typed out for y'all, so you know how to do it, because I know you don't have to write a lab report. All right, and the lab sheet. All right, if you look at the actual lab sheet, where it says magnesium oxide, about, I don't know, a third of the way down the page, it says procedure. See where it says procedure, record the mass of the clean, dry, crucible, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
See those steps, numbers 1 through 6? Those have to be typed, written, or written out in your long hand, because that sheet you're holding in your hand cannot go to the lab counter. Okay? It stays in your desk, in your notebook. You can copy it word for word. You don't have to paraphrase.
Oh, man.
Okay? The data table, again, has to be copied out, either typed or written. Now, if you're one of those people who wants to type the lab report to turn in, because there are bonus points associated with typing it when you turn it in to me on Monday. If you're one of those people, I would go ahead and type it and save it so you can just edit it and add to for the lab report. Yes, ma'am. Okay?
Just copy it down.
Yes.
Wait, what are we typing from where?
For procedure through the data table. Now, some of you are going, why is this crazy one want me to type all this crap out and that?
Wait,
Because-
the data table?
The data table and the procedure.
We
It's
can
not
write on
hard,
this,
people. You really want me to put this on the overhead projector so you can see it?
right? You want us to write on, can we write on this?
Every year. I teach an honors class. I teach multiple honors classes. And this is too much for y'all.
It makes you question.
Yeah.
It's a little early in the morning, I think that's what it is.
It won't matter fourth period. They'll ask the same question, so it's not just y'all.
I mean, fourth period.
So don't feel bad. Other than fourth period, just won't ask. It's the same thing.
Is this what you want our lab report to look like?
That is the format for the lab report. I even gave you instructions.
Even with the spaces?
Yeah. No.
It doesn't have to have as much space, but it is nice for old people with poor eyesight.
So,
You know.
okay, I was thinking of a report like we had to write a little paper. Thank
Basically,
God it's just this.
It is just that. So you're gonna follow that and do what I told you in the instructions.
Okay.
You don't
I
mind?
was thinking like we had to write long paper.
So if I zoom in this just a little bit here. You see where it says procedure
Yes.
right there?
Yes.
You have to write step 1, step 2, 3, 4. You don't have to draw the pictures. You can if you want, but it's not necessary. I would think you'd be able to remember what the crucible looks like, and it says to use tongs. I'm going to show you what the tongs look like before you go to the lab. And then you have to write steps 5 and 6. This is actually one of the shorter procedures. The SALT lab we'll do later has, I think, 13 or 14 steps. And then you have to write out the data table because you have to have a place to record this. Now, you cannot take this sheet with you to the lab counter. Now, what do you suppose the reason is for that?
Because paper's flammable.
No, paper is flammable, but you're going to write it on your own paper. So you're going to have a paper. Every year I say, go home and read this.
No
Oh, what
one
do
Nobody reads it. You won't have a clue what you're doing when you come back.
Yeah,
But if you have written it down, I can virtually guarantee you've read it at least once. Okay? So you will write steps 1 through 6, and you will draw me a data table. Now, if you're going to be one of those people who wants to type it, if you want to start on your lab report, the only parts you will be able to do are through here for Friday. Name, colon, David Conklin. Date, colon, whatever Friday's date is. I think it's the 29th. September 29th, 2017. Title. You can use the title on the sheet. You can make up your own, but it has to be relevant to the lab. Don't put something stupid that doesn't have anything to do with the lab. And you can do that. But don't put something obscene or profane either. All right? The purpose, you should be able to write in one sentence. No more than 2 sentences what the purpose of the lab is. BS does not get you more points. Points for being long-winded and stretching out the purpose. Okay? Don't tell me you had a lot of fun. Don't make up a purpose that has nothing to do with the lab. Do not tell me what the objectives are. I know what the objectives are. I typed the objectives. In one sentence, tell me what the purpose is. The procedure you can copy word for word, 1 steps through 6, and then draw your data table. Now, you're going to fill in the data table on Friday. Once you have finished the lab, then you will do the remainder. Now, notice what I put down here in bold. It has to be typed or written in what color inks? Blue or black. If you write it in pencil or it comes in a different color ink, it's -10.
So you can't read it.
You can, -10 off the top. You're down to a B before I touch it with anything else.
So you can't.
You can.
But you might.
Wait. If you
Wait,
want
what?
100, do what it says.
Why you read it?
Writing in pencil or black or blue pen.
I'm writing pink pencils.
I put it on the paper. I'm giving you 2 days notice. Read the paper.
Right, that's good.
We'll just leave this on.
Yeah, the materials are not part of the lab report.
Alright, now can we get breakfast with
Yeah, I need.
Y'all are a pest.
No,
it's from-
I like how you make straightforward.
1 through 9 is homework. It was. We got distracted because y'all had 800 million questions on what you have to write down.
They had it.
So 1 through 9 is
Really?
Given it's not 47 now, yes, questions 1 through 9 homework.
Everything on here.
Sorry.
I'm going over there to get my pen right now.
We're just trying to
Oh,
God.
Are you in a bad
I don't want anybody starved to death.
That's why you want me to show you.
Yes, that would be fabulous. You see if I can find a sticky note to write it on. If I can, get past filling out everybody's breakfast meals.
Oh, no.
I don't even know who wanted breakfast.
I want breakfast.
And I don't have any clue who I is want breakfast.
I want breakfast. I is.
Daniela. What is that?
Thank you for giving their name.
I forgot it. That's why it took me so long. Yes.
At least Catherine's standing there, so I know she wants it.
We got that over now.
I really don't know that.
Oh.
I want some. It's in a Daniela.
Who else wants one?
My name. No,
It's just the way I smear the
I know, I
name.
It's not even even look at it. I don't know why I can't look at it.
They don't.
I just throw it away.
No, it's for late. If you get late, and you give it to your teacher.
I'm not hungry. Like,
Yeah. I mean, but I care either. She might be.
And how long did you get that lab?
I know about the revolution.
I don't have any more days this week. Let's see how next week looks. I'm pretty sure.
I'm doing it
No,
tonight.
it's good. It's good. I found
I'm almost positive next
yeah.
Most
week.
I actually yesterday.
I'm thinking more
I'm
water.
pretty sure I have Wednesday and Thursday.
And come during lunch for the Spanish today.
You can if you want, that'd be fine. What lunch you have?
Second.
I watched some picture yesterday and making a few shots.
You want one?
Wait, that's homework, Ms. Wall?
Yes, 1 through 9 is homework.
She gave me more
There's a
time.
reason we're having,
I struggle with about like.
so they can torment teachers with meetings and
It's
stuff.
not easy.
It's not real, it's rough. Ethan, anybody else need breakfast? You sure?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Calculator.
Did you put your calculators away?
No.
I just did.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't look like I have them all over there. Looks like I'm missing two. It's because it gains time.